Good afternoon, dear members of media and viewers online. Today and tomorrow, Latvia is hosting His Excellency Bajram Begaj, President of the Republic of Albania. President of Latvia has already met with his Albanian counterpart, and there has been delegation meeting. We will now take a look back at these meetings and the purpose of the visit of the Albanian President. We'll start with the statement of Mr. Rinkēvičs. Good afternoon, and it is indeed my pleasure today to host the official visit of the Albanian President and First Lady of Albania. It's a historic visit from a number of perspectives. First of all, it is the first official visit of the Albanian president since the restoration of Latvia's independence. It is also an opportunity for the Albanian president to meet with the Albanian troops that are deployed to Latvia, to Camp Ādaži, and we are very thankful to Albania for many years of being a part of the NATO battle group deployed to Ādaži. Currently, there are EOD experts, unit of the Albanian EOD experts deployed to Camp Ādaži, and the President will visit troops today as well during the visit. We discussed during the meeting the strengthening of bilateral relations, political, economic ties, and how to strengthen those. We also talked about opportunities to expand the cooperation areas such as information and communication technologies, as well as tourism and also mutual cooperation in the field of trade and economy, and we agreed to continue this dialogue in future in order to find a new overlapping interest when it comes to mutual cooperation. We also talked about our support to Albania, Latvia's support to Albania, as it is trying to exceed the European Union. Albania is a EU candidate country. We discussed both the progress of the reforms in Albania. We also talked about other candidate countries, including, for example, Western Balkan countries that are trying to accede to the European Union, or Moldova, Georgia, and Ukraine. If those countries meet the standards and the requirements set before them, if they implement successfully reforms in areas such as, for example, corruption or organized crime, strengthening of the rule of law, public governance, and so on and so forth. Once those standards are being met or complied with, the EU can no longer use any other excuses, such as internal processes or domestic politics of any given member state, and the EU should rather keep up to its promises and show the goodwill and reward Albania for meeting standards and requirements and different demands, and Albania has done so. So we strongly support Albania's progress towards the EU and closing of various negotiation chapters, and we also recognize Albania's progress, and we are ready to also continue sharing our national experience when it comes to European integration processes taking place in Albania. We also discussed, of course, naturally, regional security. I would like to remind you that currently our troops, our unit is also part of the NATO International Force Mission, or KFOR mission, in Kosovo, and we also discussed how Albania sees the future development both in the Western Balkans security-wise, and we also in terms of the stability of the region, and we also underlined that our troops that are in Kosovo are also contributing to the overall security and stability in the Western Balkan region. We, of course, also discussed the current situation in Ukraine as the Russian aggression against Ukraine continues. I would like to wholeheartedly thank Albania for meeting or complying or ensuring all the EU sanctions as the candidate country of the EU, and also providing all kinds of political and practical support to Albania. We can only once again reiterate that our support for Ukraine needs to be not as much as necessary, but rather until Ukraine gains full victory over Russia in this aggression. launched by Russia. So we had a very fruitful, constructive meeting and dialogue today. Mr. President is going to also meet with our Speaker. We'll also meet with our Prime Minister, Madam Prime Minister, and we'll continue this dialogue with other top officials for Latvia. And he will also travel to Camp Ardeš and meet with the troops there, and also will be able to appreciate the host nation support provided by Camp Ardeš. Mr. President, thank you once again for visiting Latvia, and thank you. I'll be happy to now turn the floor over to you. Thank you.
Dear President, dear friend, I'm going to speak in English because we didn't find out an Albanian Latvian traducer, but I'm happy to speak in English. Dear President, allow me to extend my sincere gratitude for the warm welcome and hospitality kindly reserved for me and my delegation during my official visit in Latvia. I'm delighted to visit the beautiful city of Riga as we mark our 96th anniversary of our diplomatic relationship establishment and 32 years of re-establishment of this relationship. This year, you celebrated the 20th anniversary of your membership in NATO and EU, and I can tell you that your achievements have been inspired Albania to join this organization. Today we are allies in NATO, and soon we dream and we aspire to be together in EU. Of course, Albania and Latvia enjoy very good bilateral relations. We have developed an excellent political dialogue that share the same strategic goals and upholds common European values. Our existing political dialogue should encourage more concrete bilateral and multilateral cooperation in all fields of mutual interest for the benefits of our citizens, be it in economy, trade exchange, the flow of tourists, culture and youth exchange, and more. I am confident that today's fruitful discussion will help to move quickly and boldly in that direction. As NATO allies, Albania and Latvia cooperate closely in defense and security. We face common and similar challenges that require strengthening our cooperation in collective defense and bilateral aspects. I am proud to mention that Albania has contributed troops to the multinational brigade since 2017. Latvia's role as a host nation and the support it provides to troops have been instrumental for this brigade's success. We also appreciate Latvia's contribution with troops to the KFOR mission in Kosovo, underlining that KFOR is playing a crucial role in maintaining peace and security in Kosovo and the Western Balkan region. Your soldiers' contribution and services are highly appreciated. Latvia membership in the EU has been one of the success stories of the EU integration process, and I would like to extend my heartfelt congratulations to the Latvian people for reaching this significant milestone. We also remain thankful to Latvia and to you personally, Mr. President, including your personal previous position, for the staunch and continuous support you are giving to EU enlargement and especially to Albania's EU integration. Your contribution, be it bilaterally to Brussels or through Berlin process or within the framework of the Tallinn Group, is highly appreciated by Albania. Accession to the EU remains Albania's strategic priority. Albania has a foreign policy fully aligned with EU's common foreign and security policy. We have demonstrated it time and again internally and as a foreign policy deliverable. We have been diligently working on implementing reforms required for EU accession, particularly in areas such as the rule of law, anti-corruption, and economic governance. Additionally, we have been focused on improving our administrative efficiency and aligning our policies. Albania is dedicated to maintain the momentum of our reform efforts and ensuring we continue to meet the high standards required for membership. At the same time, the EU must proactively address the specific needs and challenges for Albania and the Western Balkan countries. These include accelerating infrastructure projects that connect the region more closely with the rest of Europe, enhancing trade relationship, and integrating regional economies into the broader EU market. During our fruitful meeting, we discussed the economic cooperation between our countries. Recently, we have seen an increase in values of our bilateral trade flow. This makes us believe that improving those results soon is well within our reach. Economic cooperation should go hand in hand with increasing contact between our peoples. And in this context, there is good news that starting the chartered flight between Riga and Tirana will result in more and more citizens of Latvia and other Baltic countries to visit Albania as a tourist. This is a good start, but that is not enough. We would like to see more involvement. I also convey to you, Mr. President, that Albania is really interested in hosting direct investment of Latvia's origin in various sectors of common interest, like in energy, infrastructure, trade, tourism, education, and agriculture. Latvia is a friendly country, which we share a common position in important regional and global issues. We appreciate the contribution and commitment of Latvia to supporting the integration process of Albania and other Western Balkan countries in the region. We are grateful for Latvia's contribution and support toward Kosovo, including Kosovo's aspiration to join international organizations. We firmly believe that this contributes to strengthening peace and stability and encouraging positive development in the region and beyond. During our meeting, I expressed our full solidarity with Ukraine and reiterate our unwavering and continuous support for its independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity within its internationally recognized border. It is vital for our joint security that we step up and maintain our support for Ukraine for as long as necessary to ensure that Ukraine prevails as a free and sovereign nation. Supporting Ukraine is an investment in our security. Albania supports President Zelensky's peace formula, and we believe that Ukraine's future lies with the Euro-Atlantic family. We also support Ukraine's aim to become a NATO country, a NATO member, as soon as its condition allows. Regarding to Albania's contribution to Ukraine, let me mention that we have been supporting Ukraine militarily, diplomatically, and humanitarian assistance aid. But I would like to mention some significant moments. For example, Albania co-organized with Ukraine in Tirana the Ukraine Southeastern Europe Summit. And of course, when Albania was non-permanent chair of United Nations Security Council, we have been campaign holders for Ukraine issues together with the US. And of course, on that organization, Albania have been always reiterate that we are unwavering our support to Ukraine and condemning in the strongest terms the unjust and unprovoked aggression of Russia to Ukraine. Dear President, dear friend, Albania and Latvia are a friendly country, NATO allies, and tomorrow will be a EU partner. Let's work together to foster our relationship for benefits of our countries, for benefits of our citizens. Thank you so much for your hospitality, and on this occasion I extend to you the invitation to come to visit Albania, to touch the reality of that region as a president, because you have been before as a Minister of Foreign Affairs. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Paldies. Turpināsim ar jautājumu.
Thank you. We will now open the floor for questions. We'll start with the Albanian side.
An airline from Baltic Air was instabilation during the summer to travel from Latvia to Albania, given the increasing in changes but between two the countries. Did you talk your counterpart about the possibility of establishing direct lines?
Thank you for the question. Of course, we talk about increasing our economic relationship between two countries. And for this year, I mentioned that direct charter flight, Air Baltic from Tirana to Latvia, have increased the number of tourists from Latvia coming to Albania. Of course, in one hand, we see that as an increased number of tourists visiting the country, but also, on the other hand, we have to see that as a business, and the company should assess, is that important? For us, there is a wish to have a direct flight from Albania to Latvia, because we think and we believe that with that direct flights, it's important for the people to come back and forth and to see the beauty of nature, the beauty of the countries, Latvia and Albania, to touch the, as we call the Albanian beaches as a new Moldavian in Europe. And of course, not only for that, but also for visiting our historical, to know the history, to know the culture, and to know the hospitality of the people.
Jā. Gins Amoliņš, lūdzu, pie mikrofona.
Gins Amoliņš, please. The floor is yours. Good afternoon.
Television, Your Excellency, welcome to Riga, President Kungs. If I may ask one question to each, in this case. The first question to the President of Latvia, and perhaps Albania as well. Albānija februārī rīkoja drošības.
In February, Albania hosted security conference that was also attended by the Ukrainian President Zelensky, who urged others to continue supporting Ukraine also with weapons. And Albania and Latvia, as we all know, have provided a lot of practical assistance to Albania. We are similarly sized countries. We also use different diplomatic channels in order to encourage bigger countries to also send additional weapons and armaments to Ukraine. What do you think is currently the mood in the West with regard to further support and increasing the military and weapons support to Ukraine?
For Latvia, we have a neighbor which is Russia. So when and we have had our history with Russia. And when the full-scale invasion of Russia into Ukraine broke out, so it was, for us, it was understandable why we have to support Ukraine, because we have had very direct, history with Moscow. For Albania, why is it important to support Ukraine? Why is it important to support Ukraine for it to win? And if I may add, do you feel Russia trying to influence public opinions in Albania as well? Thank you. Paldies.
Yeah, no.
Well, yes, indeed. Both countries, both Latvia and Albania, have provided both political and practical support to Albania, not only from the first days of the full-scale Russian invasion in Ukraine, but also prior to the February 2022. And I should say that nothing has changed with regard to our position. We stand firm and unwavered when it comes to providing all kinds of support to Ukraine. Unfortunately, as we see, there is a big gap between what has been promised and what has been delivered. Of course, if somebody says today that we will provide, for example, Patriot air defense systems, then they will be in Ukraine in a week from today. Unfortunately, it takes a longer time. As far as I know, some of the promised systems or equipment or air defense systems have not reached Ukraine, even though several months have passed since the big political statements. That is unfortunately unacceptable, and unfortunately we have allowed this to happen, but we have been constantly reminding all the countries that are assisting Ukraine to remove all the obstacles, all the existing obstacles when it comes to delivery of the weapons or ammunition to Ukraine as it fights or fends off Russia. We have been receiving news from Ukraine recently about systematic destruction of the energy facilities in Ukraine, and they are also hitting civilian buildings as well. So Ukraine's decision to counterattack has led to huge increase among civilian victims, and we are very worried about how Ukraine will survive the next winter, not from the militarily point of view, but from the energy supply and electricity supply point of view for the buildings, for public buildings and for homes, hospitals, schools, and so on and so forth, and also homes of the civilian population. Unfortunately, that is how it is at the moment. Sometimes, unfortunately, the Western countries are not always walking the talk, and that is a pity. Of course, when it comes to next year, NATO has decided to provide additional 40 billion in terms of assistance. There's also strategic partnership agreement between Latvia and Ukraine, and 2.5% of our GDP will go into supporting Ukraine. Ministry of Defense is working on defense spending increase, and we are working, in several directions, but it's pretty obvious that we shouldn't lose the focus.
Thank you for the question. First, as I mentioned, Albania has been supporting Ukraine for the day first, not only militarily, not only diplomatically, but although in humanitarian assistance. We have been providing for them MREPs, ambulances. We have been providing light ammunition, light weapon and ammunition. Of course, we will do more if that is needed. And in reconstruction, Albania will take part too. And the mayor of Tirana and the government of Albania have decided to be part of that challenge. For the second question, as you mentioned, you understand very well Russia is in your border, but from Western Balkan and Albania, Russia is far away. For us, it's not important how far is the distance between the countries, but the important is how you behave based on international order and, of course, based on human values. When you make aggression to someone, if you start a war unprovoked, unjustified, it means that you are broken the international law, and Albania fully supports the international law. As I said, Albania have been champion on their following policy. We have been fully aligned with the European Union common foreign and security policy, but although Euro-Atlantic with the US and protecting the UN most important values for humanity. So Russia has been making an aggression. Everyone should go against them, and for Albania, it's important for another reason, because the region that we are living is not immune from those third actors, and Russia, China, and Iran is there present too. So we do not to have another hotspot in that area.
Paldies, ar to arī beigsim preses
Thank you. This concludes our press conference. Thank you all.
Now we go for the official section.
Yeah.